Hey there, Coach NRGY here. I am coming to you today to talk about the Red Table Talk with Jada and Will. At first, I didn't even know anything about it. I was seeing memes about entanglement. I saw that term a lot across my social media over the past 2, maybe 3 weeks now, and I didn't know what was going on. And I saw a meme where Jada was across the table from herself. So I was like, okay, what is this about? And then I started getting people asking me, like, what are your thoughts on this? Are you going to say anything about this as far as like putting a video out there, considering the type of channel that I have? And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. So I said, okay, let me just kind of research it a little bit, see what's going on. So I finally watched the interview with Will and Jada, where they were across the table from each other at their own Red Table Talk. And I was like, wow, okay. So, after, like I said, after being asked a few times about my opinion or about, just how my own perception of their conversation, of the things that were said and how things were said, I was like, yeah, this could be a good topic for an episode. So here I am. I am about to record that today. So I said, you know what, I'll just do a general overall type of video response and just do it that way and then see what comes from it. If people want me to do a side by side, then I will, because it will definitely be easier to understand that way. It'll be easier for me to be able to pinpoint the specifics of certain facial expressions, the way things were said, body language, because there was a lot of that going on that I was paying attention to in the video. So if that's something that's really, requested, then I'll do that. I'll record another video of more of a side-by-side type of situation. But for today, I'm really just going to focus on the general overall conversation that happened between the two of them. And I will go ahead and tell you specifically, like, I was just drawn into I was drawn into his position of the conversation. I was drawn more into his way of communicating. I was drawn into his body language, the way that he was uncomfortable, was very uncomfortable. He was very, even though he put on a great face, he was very emotional. He's still very emotional about the situation that happened with Jada and August. So you're going to hear a lot of me pointing out, from his perspective, or, pointing towards, the things that he said or the things that he did or how he said something and his movements, just because that's where the meat of everything is, in my opinion. I do believe that there are some other videos. Of course, there are a lot of other videos out there where it's more so talking from Jada's perspective, from her being the actual person who played a major part in the whole thing that happened, years ago, 4.5 years ago, as she said. So, I said, you know what, I'm going to take a different perspective. I tend to do that anyway, taking a different perspective on what I see and what I'm drawn to when it comes to these types of interactions. So I'm just going to tell you right now, overall, it really was an opportunity for Will to get some of his questions answered, some of those questions that he hasn't been able to get answered thus far from Jada, from that whole situation that happened. He was still looking for closure. In my opinion, he was just still looking for closure. He hasn't had that closure yet. That's why I was saying earlier, the emotions were very much still there for him. He was very, he was just there. Like, he was in the moment, he was there, and he was like, hey, this is my opportunity. Let's talk about it. Let's finally get things out on the table. And, Jada, she played it very cool. She played it very, calm, cool, collected. However, she definitely did still show different signs, so to speak, different signs of her being a little bit uncomfortable about having to talk about certain things or specific things or whatever. But, definitely was an opportunity for Will to finally just, have his chance to actually, see what information he could get out of Jada that he hadn't been able to get out of her before now. And, he was doing his best to hold her accountable, especially while the cameras were there. I think that he, really was doing his best to, say, hey, come on, we're at the table. You said you're going to talk about it, tell us what happened. And, but at the same time, he came in a supportive manner, with that being, with Jada being his wife. He definitely came in a supportive manner. He, didn't come to bash her. He didn't come to throw her under the bus or anything like that. He was still very much so there. However, he was, showing and speaking in he was showing how he felt about it. He was holding back a lot, for sure, of course, again, because of the cameras, and understandably so. He was still holding back quite a bit, but there's still a lot there, overall speaking. Even before I go into a little bit of the details, there's still a lot of hurt and a lot of pain from it, despite them saying that, oh, this for me was so long ago. This happened so many years ago. Yeah, but they hadn't dealt with it. You were able to clearly see it right here in that video, or in that particular video, where they had not truly dealt with it. Someone, Will, did not get what he needed to get from that situation back then for him to be able to move forward with peacefully, without still harboring or having those feelings that have been, maybe dormant, that had maybe been put to bed until it all came back up again. And, it just kind of shows the importance of not just brushing things under the rug, or not just wanting to not talk about stuff, not wanting to not communicate about a situation, no matter how uncomfortable it may have been, or how fresh it could be, or how old it could be. If there are people involved other than yourself, you have to give them the opportunity. If, especially if you're still there with them, you're still in their lives, they're in your lives, love is still there. You want to give them the opportunity to have their opportunity to get that closure, or to get the peace for their own peace in their own way. Help them get to a level of understanding to where they can move on. Some people may be able to just move on and say, hey, this is what I did, whatever, it is what it is, let's move on. But someone else may need a little bit more. Someone else may need that explanation. They may need that understanding. And again, it's more important whenever it's in a situation, a relationship, or a marriage where both people are still in communication with each other and or still together. That's where you do have that opportunity to where you can get closure. However, there are going to be some opportunities where closure cannot be gotten once the relationship is gone, that person has left, you've left, the marriage is over, the relationship has ended, whatever the case is, but you two are no longer together and you have no quote unquote obligation to each other. Then the closure is not going to come from the other person, because they've moved on. So therefore, you would have to figure out a way to gain closure for yourself. And that's very possible. It's actually the best method. And I will record another episode on closure that is actually due within the next week or two. And I will post that. So look out for that very soon. Make sure that you make sure that you subscribe, you follow, you like, in order to check out that episode, because there are a lot of people who don't understand closure, that it's a real thing, and how to get it whenever the other person who you are expecting it to come from, when that other person is just not there, or they just don't care to give you what you may need. So that's going to be a good one. Look out for that. So going back to this topic today, the Red Table Talk. So again, there is a lot of unresolved feelings, unresolved emotions, and unanswered questions between these two, and definitely coming from Will's side. And that's why he was trying to hold Jada, hold her feet to the fire, still, again, in a very loving way. So there are a lot of direct and indirect verbal cues. In addition to body language, there were a lot of verbal cues that were said from both sides, but again, more so from Will's side, that just lets you know that this thing is still very much so new or fresh for him. Not new, but fresh for him. It's still very sensitive for him, despite however long it's been since the situation happened, since the situation occurred, and, despite how long ago it ended. So there are a few statements that I did want to just speak on specifically. And, I'm sure that you guys have probably seen the video or their particular episode. If not, check it out first, come back to this video. And then if you want to go back and recheck it out again, so you can kind of see what I'm talking about, that would probably be the best way to handle my video. So one of the things that Will stated was at the very beginning, right before she was getting into it, he literally just said, "So what happened, Jada?" And it was just like he was trying, he wants to know. He was asking that question, not just for us, not just for the cameras. He was asking that question for himself as well. So what happened? And if you catch what was being said right around that time of when he asked her that question, she went through the whole spiel about, oh, well, we were separated amicably. And, at first, August had came into their lives because he was very sick. And you know what? Let me say this part first. There was one more thing that Will stated. No, I'll stay in order. Yeah, so I'll stay in this order. He did say this first. He did say, so what happened, Jada? And, so as she was starting to explain, that it was when they were separated, and, they were separated amicably. And, when August came into their lives, he was very sick. And Will specifically said the outpouring from our family was initially about his health. So that little statement, that little phrase is Will's way of saying, hey, yeah, we brought him into our home. We brought him into our lives. We accepted him as a whole, as a family, because of health reasons, initially for his health. Now, whatever Jada decided to do after that, it's like, hey, that's not on us, so what happened, So I don't know if people actually paid attention to that little line that he stated, but that's one of those other verbal cues that, when someone says that, he's trying to let people know, or he's trying to let someone know that, hey, this was the reason, this was the initial reason of how this person came into the Smith family household. Now, after that, the family is out of it after that. At that point, now it's on you, Jada. So yeah, Jada, what happened? And that was also right around the same time when he made the statement, I was done with you. And the for lack of a better term, the directness, the forcefulness, the abrupt way of how he said, I was done with you. And he said another word, I was done with your ass, right? So he made that very clear. And this is just one of those moments in this entire interview where he's taking advantage of the opportunity to still get out his feelings, to still express how he's feeling, how he's been feeling about this situation. I was done with you. I was done with you know what. So the emotions behind what he said and with how he said it, that's where you're able to see the correlation of, oh, well, he's not just joking about it. This guy was for real, and those emotions are still very much in him. Those emotions are still very fresh within him. Yeah, granted, I give him kudos for still wanting to move forward in their relationship, in their marriage, and still wanting to work things out however they decide to do so. However, a lot of his lines were very emotion driven. And yeah, and his type of personality, which a lot of us do it, a lot of people out here do it as well, where we will laugh about something after saying it in order to try to make it seem as though it was a joke, or not, in order to try to kind of lighten what we just said, because what we just said was how we really felt, and what we just said was quite heavy or strong. And so we'll laugh behind it. And that was throughout this entire interview where, there was laughter given either right before a statement was made or right after a statement was made, in order to try to create a sense of, I'm just kidding, type of thing. When in reality, no. There's so much truth to what was actually said. So one of the other things that he stated was, he said, I really felt like we could be over. And that was, during that time, but that was another statement that he was kind of reflecting on. He said, I really felt that we could be over. And Jada immediately was like, oh yeah, we were over. And in that moment, you can just kind of feel how, like, even then and even now, they were on two different pages of that moment in time back then. Because Will is looking at it like, well, I really thought that we could be over. Jada was like, nah, we were over. And that points out to another thing that happens in a lot of relationships, where people are on two different pages. One person is like already checked out. The other person is like, oh, well, maybe we can try to work it out. I don't know, maybe maybe we just need a little bit of time to, to ourselves. Maybe we just need to take a break. And the other person's like, nah, we're done. Like, what else is there? So anyway, I say that on purpose. I say that to say, that was a perfect example of where two people in the same relationship are on different pages or have different outlooks of their relationship, in that particular moment. So then after they kind of had their little laughter, their little joking laughter to try to, laugh off the situation, the uncomfort, the uncomfortness, whatever, what was going on. That's when Will then brought it back. Will was like, I'm going to hold her here to it. He said, and then what did you do, Jada? It's like, he's not letting it go, but he's doing it because, hey, that's what they came to the table for. That's what this whole interview, this whole setup, that, the setup of the cameras and everything, that's what it's for. And he said, and then what did you do, Jay? And if you watch when he said it, as soon as he was done making that statement, his body language, his eye contact went down, and as in like a shame or shameful moment of like disgrace almost. And yeah, that kind of hurt my heart. It hurt my heart for him. Not saying, and let me say this, I'm not saying who was at, it's not, this is not a situation, or it's not a video of me saying, oh, somebody was wrong in this and, they shouldn't have done, like, nah, all I'm doing is just pointing out those things that we're able to see from the outside looking in, that is so common in so many of the relationships that we all have. And now we're able to see it play out in front of our eyes, and from using other people as the subjects to where we can then learn from it and say, oh, wow, that's what it looks like. That's what it sounds like. That's what it feels like. And we can hopefully apply the things that we learn to our own relationships moving forward in order to improve things in our own lives. So that's the whole premise of this video. Let me go ahead and say that as well. So in that moment when Will, had that little shameful moment of, and then what did you do, Jada? And then he looked downward, his body language just kind of felt like, disgust, shame, or maybe a little bit of embarrassment as well when he asked that question, knowing that, okay, now I have to, now she's about to answer and put it out there about what she did. In that moment, or right after that, Jada, her response was, it was kind of funny because she ended up giving a very direct and strong response, even with her body language and as well as with her words. It was when she was saying, I can understand, Og's reason for thinking that Will had gave his blessing because of, them having been separated. She said, but I believe he said that, and this is Jada speaking about August. She said, I believe he said that in order to make sure that he wasn't, viewed as a homewrecker. And then her immediate statement after that was, which he's not. And she looked dead at Will, direct at Will. The direction of her body posture, her movement of her hand, the stiffness in her hand, the fingers in her hand were pointing towards Will. That was something that if there was nothing else in this interview that she said that was the truth, or just like, hey, putting it all out there, not trying to hide anything, not trying to sugarcoat anything, that was one of those statements where she was like, and this is real. She was like, and he's not, meaning he's not a homewrecker. And she held that joint. And it was like, whoa, all right, was that like an issue between, the two of them, her and Will? Was that a sore subject, at one point in their relationship, whether it was back then, whether it was more recently now, maybe was it something that's being brought up now, that everything is out in the open again 4 years later? And maybe it was something where her and Will, just maybe didn't see eye to eye on, or whatever the case is. But at the end of the day, in that moment in this interview, she wanted to make it clear that Og is not a homewrecker. Oh my God. So yeah, she was not playing with that one. So that was very interesting. That was very interesting. She wanted to make sure that August was not being viewed as a homewrecker, and whether it be by everybody else, all of us, or whether it even by Will. She wanted to let it be known, like, nah, he wasn't a homewrecker. We did what we did, but it was, he wasn't a homewrecker. And so to be able to say that someone wasn't a homewrecker, that means that the person that was in that marriage was a willing participant. And so that's ultimately what she's also saying. Like, he didn't come in here and wreck anything. Like, he can't wreck anything. I allowed this to happen. So yeah, just wanted to point that out. So after that homewrecker situation, that homewrecker comment, Will brought it back again and said, you need to say clearly what happened. And then Jada was like, I did. I said I got into an entanglement with August. And Will was like, an entanglement? And he said, a relationship. See, so Will, Will wants the answers. Will wants to know, he wants to know, just like all of the people out here want to know, what happened? What did you do, Jada? And then what happened? And that you need to clearly say it. And that was because when she first kind of ran through her initial explanation of what happened on this particular interview, she used the term, I got into an entanglement with August. And so this time when Will brought it back around and he stated, you need to say clearly what happened. And she said, I did. I said, I got into an entanglement with August. And Will was like, an entanglement? He's like, a relationship. Like, so he said, come on, let's just call it for what it is. Like, let's just be real. This is the table. He even said, I'm you today. That's Will saying that he was Jada. He was playing her position of what she usually plays on the other episodes of the Red Table Talk. And so he brought it back, and I was like, yes, like, absolutely. Like, we have to hold people to, like, just being real, like, just be real, just be transparent, just be honest with, with your part, with what you did, with what you said, with whatever happened, especially if we're going to this trouble, we're going to this extent of having to, have the cameras here, have production here, we're bringing it to the table and we're about to, put it out there for the world. Let's knock it out. Let's just be done with it once and for all. And, let's not try to save face anymore. Because I know, again, he's still very much trying to deal with it. He's still very much so going through it. Jada, she's like, man, that was so long ago. It was something that happened, something I needed. I'll talk about that next. Yeah, actually, I'll go ahead and talk about that next. So when Will asked her, you need to clearly say what happened. And he was like, an entanglement, a relationship. The next part, or the next few things that were talked about, it was quite hard for Will to hear. It would be hard for any man, in my opinion, not all, but some. It would be quite hard for a man to hear when he asked her, what were you looking for when you were involved with August? Or I think he actually used the term interacting, when you were, but for now, when you were involved or interacting with August, what were you looking for? And he asked that question. That's a tough question let's stay right there for a second. To ask that question, that's still, that right there is just all kinds of, hey, I still don't have the closure yet. Hey, I still want to know, what were you looking for? Like, we were together, we were married. What were you looking for? As far as what made you go that far and have a relationship with someone else, especially to the extent of how her and August's relationship was. So he asked that question, and I could just imagine that the response would be one that's very difficult to hear. He's still seeking closure. That's what I was referring to earlier in the video. In this particular video, he's still seeking closure that he has not been able to get yet. So Jada said she just wanted to feel good. It had been so long since she's felt good. And then she threw in there, and it was a joy to help someone heal. But that first and second line were her reasons. She just wanted to feel good because it had been such a long time since she felt good. Now, keep in mind, they've been married for 25 years, according to what they said. Prior to August coming into their lives, Jada was not happy within the marriage between her and Will. And when August came along, whatever he says, whatever he would do, whatever they would talk about, it fed Jada. It filled up whatever that tank was that was empty throughout the relationship throughout the marriage that she and Will had. And so when Will asked her, what were you looking for when you were involved with August? Jada's response, I just wanted to feel good. It had been such a long time since I felt good. You could see where, like, you could see where he was trying to, again, save face. And I felt for him, I felt for him in that moment. Again, I'm not taking his side or anything like that when I say I felt for him, because even according to some of the things that they said towards the end, he played his part in their relationship, in their marriage as well, as far as like possibly doing dirt or doing something outside of Jada. To hear your spouse, your partner say in response to a question that you asked them of, well, what were you looking for in this other person? Their response is, well, I just wanted to feel good. It had been such a long time since I just felt good. How would that make you feel? Like hearing that from your partner, your spouse, that would have to be a very hard pill to swallow. The next part, it also just pointed to how uncomfortable Will is in this whole conversation and this whole situation. When he started laughing and making a joke about, he feels like that husband that, standing on the side of his wife while she tells the world, about her transgressions. And he used that term. If we know what the word transgression means, and for those who may not know the clear understanding or definition of what it is, I'll just go ahead and say it really quickly. Transgression is about going against a rule or a law or a code of conduct, so to speak, like an offense. And so for Will to use the term transgression, that's saying that Jada kind of broke a rule within their marriage. But if you look at Jada's response, again, I'm about to point out another example or scenario of where this is an example of people who are on two totally different pages of how one person sees and feels and are going through a situation versus how the other person sees, feels, and are going through that same situation. Jada's response was, Jada was like, no, it wasn't a transgression. It was something I needed. And seeing how in his face, when she kind of corrected him, in his face, it was just like, again, he just got hit with that blow again. And it's just like, he's just not getting that. He's not getting what he needs, or maybe he's not getting what he wants in that moment. Because she definitely corrected him and said, no, it wasn't a transgression. So moving on, then that was followed by when Will was talking about, because I wasn't sure if I was going to ever speak to you again. The fact that I'm speaking to you again is a miracle. That's heavy. That's a heavy statement. That's a heavy comment. He took that situation so hard. But even though Jada prefaced this whole interview by saying they were separated amicably, but he took it so hard for him to say, I wasn't sure if I was going to ever speak to you again, and the fact that I'm speaking to you again is a miracle. So there's so much more I want to say, but I'm going to try to keep it on track for this video. So Jada also agreed. She said, we never thought that we would have made it back, or that we wouldn't make it back. So Will was like, I don't want to go through this no more. I'm going to get you back first. And Jada was like, I think you've already got me back. And then she was like, you know what, but I don't really think it's about getting anyone back. And Will jumped in there, cut her off, and was like, no, for me it is. And then, he did his little laughter. And, even though there's truth in jokes like that, most people will say, I'm just playing, or I'm just kidding. He didn't say that at all to follow. He's like, no, for me it is. And he just laughed, which means he's not good. He's not good with it. He's not good with the situation. Understandable, but he's not good with it as far as to where he's like, you know what? It happened. I've done what I've done. You've done what you've done. Let's move forward. No. So Jada's response was, I'll give you that petty-ish if that's what you want. And that was a moment of realness as far as like how their communication typically goes, because they both just, roll those back-to-back comments, those back-to-back statements off. And you could tell that those statements were real. When he said, no, for me it is. And she was like, I'll give you that petty-ish if that's what you want. It was too smooth. It was too, you could tell that that's how conversations go when the cameras aren't around, basically. It's not so poised. The conversations aren't so put together, and yeah. And one of the last things that were said was, they did their little joke, we ride together, we die together, bad marriage for life. The fact that was the first, maybe the second time, but from what I can remember, the first thing that they actually agreed upon where they were both on the same page this time was when they both said that little line that ended with bad marriage for life. And if they followed it with Will saying, that's terrible. He was still laughing, but he said, that's terrible. And she said, but it's the truth. And he said, it's the truth. And that's what they ended on. And that's what they actually are on the same page about, is the fact that they are in a bad marriage, which is a terrible situation, and they're in it for life, at least as of right now, because they've been going through all these different things that each person has done to the other person, but they still maintain the marriage. And that's what they agreed on out of this whole thing. So there's so much more I want to talk about. One of the things, I'll just mention it, there are so many people over the last, who knows how long, 5 years, 10 years, maybe even longer, of people saying, oh, Will and Jada Smith, relationship goals. And, I'm always against, people saying about another person's relationship or marriage, that it's their relationship goal, because I'm like, you do not know what goes on in another person's house. You only know what's being seen. You only know what is being shown. And it's just not something that, you want to do. However, there are a lot of people, who use celebrity relationships and marriages as their relationship goal. And Jada and Will, they have been one of the couples who've been used for years, where people have been saying relationship goals, especially a lot, almost half and half, but especially probably a little bit more of the males who have been saying it because of the alleged open relationship that Jada and Will may or may not have, and how, guys Some guys, would prefer to be in an open relationship with their woman or whatever. And it's just like, for anyone who may have looked at Jada and Will as a relationship goal, look at the pain. Let me say it this way. For anyone who looked at Will and Jada's marriage as a relationship goal, especially with the assumption that they had an open relationship or an open marriage, look at the pain in Will's face. Look at the emotions that he was fighting throughout this entire interview. And this is just the part that we saw. An open relationship or an open marriage, I've said it before and I'll say it again, always, always, always leads to someone being hurt. Because someone is going to not be fulfilled to the level of their expectation at some point. Things may start off perfect. Things may start off, with both people being on the same page, with both people having the right expectation, with both people having the same understanding. But at some point, as time goes on, one, if not both of those people, but at least one person in that relationship, that open relationship, will have a shift in their thinking, will have a shift in their feelings and their emotions, will have a shift in their in what they will then deem as being what belongs to them, what's theirs, who is theirs. And then it starts to change the whole dynamic. And if you just look into Will's face, look at his body language, you will see where he's just hurt over this situation. So I don't know if they, of course, I haven't actually spoken to them, him or Jada, to confirm if they are or are not in an open relationship. But for those who are just so gung-ho about their marriage because of the thought of them being in an open relationship, look at where it has brought them. So this is what I say to people all the time. This is what I say to clients all the time. I don't care if you're a client of mine or not. I say it if the conversation is brought up and if I'm asked for my response, my opinion, my whatever, my thoughts on open relationships. I say it does not work out because someone will end up being hurt, whether it be the man or whether it be the woman, because of how we are created, how we are designed. We're not designed to function in open, intimate relationships. No. Yeah. I might do another video, a separate video on that. If y'all want me to do a separate video on open relationships, open, intimate relationships, let me know. Put your comments below. Let me know if you want me to do that. And I'll give you my little spiel on open, intimate relationships and the whole reason behind why it won't work long term, not even long term, why it's not sustainable until death do you part, so to speak. That will be a good one. So yeah, put down below if you would like to hear my, see me do a video or would like for me to do a video on that subject, on that topic. Like I said earlier, I will post a video about closure shortly after this. When I say shortly, within the next episode or two, it will be one of the ones that are released. So look out for that. That is a hot topic. It's a hot subject where a lot of people are they're conflicted. They are conflicted with, is closure even a thing? Or for those who know that closure is indeed a thing, which it is, then the conflict is then, well, how do I get it? How do I create it? How do I receive closure in situations? So it's definitely an interesting topic that I will do my best to keep a video very short, or as short as possible, to just kind of go into a quick explanation. But, with any of the topics that I've recorded or talked about or spoken on, you guys, if you want any more information, you want to go deeper into that personally, if you need clarification on something, if you just want, if there was something that I said that you quite didn't understand, you know what to do. Go ahead and go to my website, CoachNRGY.com, where you are able to make an appointment. You're able to go ahead and take advantage of that free consultation. Everyone gets one. So it's a free 30-minute consultation where we're able to just talk, and again, it's no obligation. So, even if you don't plan on becoming an actual client, no worries. Take advantage of that consultation and get, whatever questions you have answered. If there's a situation that you are going through and you want to use that consultation for, go ahead, by all means. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to help everyone, as many people as I can, with getting through whatever situations that they are going through in life. And so if that's the only way that we end up communicating or working together is through that one-time 30-minute consultation, let's do it. Take advantage of it. So go to CoachNRGY.com. Energy is spelled NRGY. And for those of you who are new to my channel, Energy is my real name. Yes, indeed. And this is exactly how I spell it. Right there, NRGY, and sign up if you just want more information like this, more free, valuable content like this. Make sure that you follow me on this channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, Coach NRGY, search for me, go ahead and subscribe, follow, and hit that bell so you can be notified of any other videos that I have coming out in the future. And go ahead and check out the videos from the past that I've already uploaded and spoken on those particular topics. Maybe it's something that can help you out. If you are listening to this on your preferred podcast platform, go ahead and subscribe and download, hit that 5-star rating as well. If you like this information, if you like this video, or if you like just the content that I'm sharing and putting out there, again, free, valuable content and information from yours truly, certified life and relationship coach, Coach NRGY. I am here for you guys. If you are on social media, I'm on pretty much all of those. You can mainly find me on LinkedIn and YouTube, my podcast channel, I Give Life to Life. Yes, I'll say it again. I Give Life to Life. That's my podcast channel. And so follow me I'm there for you to find me, online, wherever, whichever place that you spend a lot of your time, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, I'm on those as well at Coach NRGY. So thank you guys for tuning in. I hope that you were able to get a different perspective from watching this video. I know there are a lot of videos out there in response to the Red Table Talk with Jada and Will, but I definitely do hope that this particular video that I've posted and recorded is, it gives you a little bit more of a perspective, or a different perspective, just something more to think about. And hopefully you're able to learn from what they've put out there. For me, I definitely learned there are certainly things that I am able to take from, their situation as well, for just my own self, my own personal life. And, I hope that people are able to learn from, what I've recorded here as well. It wasn't anything that I scripted out. Like I said, I didn't know which way I was going to go as far as like how I was going to record it, how I was going to publish it and put it out there. So I just decided to, just do a general overall type of speaking on a few points throughout what they discussed. And if you guys want me to do something a little bit more in detail, a little bit more, scene by scene, line by line type of thing, then let me know and I will do it if I get enough people to who actually want to watch it in that manner, watch it in that method. But nonetheless, thank you guys so much for your time, and I will see you soon. You already know, keep smiling. Bye-bye.